My name is Derek Hoffman, and I've worked for 17 years with the Coconino County Sheriff's Office in Arizona. I've seen a lot of strange things patrolling these desert roads between Flagstaff and Sedona. You quickly learn that nighttime in Arizona isn't like anywhere else. The silence here is heavy, the darkness feels denser, and some nights you swear you feel like something is watching through the car windows. But what happened in October 2019 was unlike anything I'd ever seen or heard about in the reports, and believe me, I've read a lot of strange reports. It was a Tuesday, 2:40 in the morning. I was finishing my shift, driving back along Highway 89 towards the precinct. That highway is deserted during the day. Imagine at dawn, just the gray asphalt stretching until it disappears into the darkness, the dry bushes on the sides, and occasionally the eyes of some coyote reflecting in the headlights before running away. The dashcam was on, as it always is. It's protocol. Everything that happens in front of the patrol car is automatically recorded. I was about 15 minutes from the city when I saw something white in the middle of the road. From a distance, it looked like a garbage bag. You know those big bags people throw on the side of the road? I slowed down because I'd already run over a piece of wood once and almost blew out 2 tires. As I got closer, I realized it wasn't garbage. It was a person, an elderly woman, standing right in the center of the yellow line with her back to me. She was wearing a long, old-fashioned white dress that went down to her ankles. The fabric seemed too clean considering where she was. There were no cars stopped on the side, no emergency lights, nothing. Just her, standing there like a statue. I turned on the emergency lights and stopped the car about 20 meters away. I picked up the radio and reported the situation, saying that there was a possible person in a psychiatric crisis or disoriented in the middle of the highway. I got out of the car slowly, keeping my hand near the gun, not because I thought it was dangerous, but because you never know what you're going to find on those roads. It could be a trap. It could be someone trying to distract me while another person approached from behind. I've heard stories like that. I yelled at her, "Ma'am, I need you to get off the highway. It's not safe to stay there." She didn't move. She didn't even turn her head. She remained with her back to me, completely still. I took a few more steps and repeated the command, louder this time. Nothing. The wind was still that night. I remember it clearly because her dress didn't sway even a millimeter. It seemed painted on her. I got closer, maybe 10 meters, and that's when I started to feel that strange chill down my spine. It wasn't a temperature chill, it was something else, a feeling that I shouldn't be there. I spoke again. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to identify yourself and get off the track now." My voice came out more tense than I intended. She finally moved. She turned her head slowly, very slowly, until I could see the profile of her face. She was a very old woman with wrinkled skin and white hair tied in a low bun. Her eyes were deep-set and dark, but I couldn't see them clearly because the headlights cast a shadow on that area. She looked at me for about 3 seconds and then turned her back to me again. I pulled out my flashlight and pointed it directly at her as I walked closer. Now I was about 5 meters away. "Ma'am, last chance. I need your cooperation." My hand was trembling a little, I won't lie. She didn't answer. I stopped where I was and picked up the radio again to call for backup because this was getting too bizarre to handle alone. It was at that moment that I heard her speak. It wasn't loud. It was a whisper, but I could hear it clearly, as if she was speaking in my ear. She said, "You shouldn't have come here." Her voice was rough, cracked, like when someone goes a long time without drinking water. I froze. I asked what she meant by that, but she didn't answer. She just stood there. I decided I was going to approach her and put my hand on her shoulder, try to guide her to the police car, but when I took the first step, she turned completely towards me. Her face was different. It wasn't the same as seconds ago. Her eyes were wide open, completely white, without pupils, without irises, just that milky, bright white. Her mouth was slightly open, and I could see that she had no teeth, just a dark hole. I took 2 steps back and instinctively pulled out my gun. She started walking towards me. It wasn't a normal walk. Her feet glided across the ground without making a sound, as if she were floating a few centimeters above the asphalt. I yelled at her to stop, pointed the gun, but she kept coming. My heart was pounding in my chest. I fired a warning shot into the air and she stopped. She froze right there, about 3 meters from me. The echo of the shot faded too quickly, swallowed by the desert. There was no sound after that, not a cricket, not wind, nothing, just dead silence. She tilted her head to the side like a dog trying to understand something, and then smiled. It was the most horrible smile I've ever seen. Too wide, toothless, just that black emptiness. I started backing away toward the patrol car, keeping my gun pointed at her. She didn't move anymore, just stood there smiling. I got in the car, locked the doors, and grabbed the trembling radio. I told the dispatcher that the situation was out of control and that I needed backup immediately. He asked if I was injured. I said no, but that something was wrong with that woman. Very wrong. I looked out the window and she was still there, standing in the middle of the highway, facing the car now. The smile was gone. She slowly raised her arm and pointed her finger at me. I stared at her through the windshield, unblinking, my hand on the gun. And then she started walking again, not towards me. She walked sideways, crossing the road towards the shoulder. Her feet continued to glide silently. When she reached the edge of the road, she stopped and looked back one last time. That's when the part happened that nobody believes, not even when I show them the recording. She simply disappeared. She didn't run, she didn't crouch, she didn't go anywhere. She was there, and the next second she wasn't, as if someone had pressed a button and erased her from existence. I blinked several times, opened the car door and got out, pointing the flashlight at the exact spot where she had vanished. Nothing, not even footprints in the sand on the side of the road, not even traces of fabric, nothing. The backup arrived 12 minutes later. 2 officers I knew well, Marcus and Jen. They got out of the patrol car with their guns drawn, thinking they were going to find a crime scene. I explained what had happened and saw their expressions shift, from alert to confusion and then to disbelief. Marcus did a thorough sweep of the area with his car's spotlight, while Jen asked me if I had been drinking or taking any medication. I said no, that I was completely sober, and that everything was recorded on the Dashcam. We went back to the police station and headed straight to Sergeant Hayes' office. He's a tough guy, over 30 years in the police force. He's seen it all. We played the recording. You could see everything. The woman standing in the middle of the highway, her white dress shining in the headlights, me approaching her, her turning her head, then turning completely. You could see the moment she starts walking towards me and I back away. You could see the warning shot, the smoke coming from the gun, and then at the exact moment I described, she disappears. One frame she's there, the next she's gone. Hayes watched it 3 times in silence. Then he sent the recording to the IT technician to check for any tampering or system failures. The result came 2 days later. No editing, no glitches, no technical failures. The recording was intact. What was recorded had really happened. Hayes filed the case as an unresolved incident and told me not to discuss it with anyone outside the police station, but news like that doesn't stay hidden for long. 3 weeks later, a woman named Patricia Morgan came into the police station saying she needed to speak with me. She was about 70 years old and lived in an old house near Sedona. Sergeant Hayes let her into the meeting room with me. Patricia pulled an old black and white photograph from her purse, faded at the edges. She showed it to me and asked if I recognized the person. It was her, the woman in the white dress. The face was identical, the same expression, the same hair tied back. I felt my stomach churn. Patricia explained that it was her grandmother, Dorothy Kellerman, who had died in 1983 in a car accident on that very same highway, Highway 89. She was returning from a church service, driving alone in the early morning hours, when she lost control of the vehicle and it rolled over. The car caught fire and she died from burns before the firefighters arrived. Patricia said her grandmother was wearing a white dress that night, the same one she wore on special occasions. She also said that since Dorothy's death, several people had reported sightings of a woman in white on that road, always between 2 and 3 in the morning. I asked why she had never officially reported it. Patricia replied that she had reported it several times, but no one took it seriously. She said she had other witnesses, truck drivers, night travelers, but they were all ignored or ridiculed. She knew about my case because one of the officers who came to help me was her cousin and commented on the video. Hayes forbade any leaks of the recording, but 6 months later, someone anonymously sent a copy to the local newspaper. The news exploded. Reporters, psychics, curious people, everyone wanted to know about the woman in white on Highway 89. They held night vigils, recordings, interviews. I refused all interview requests. I didn't want to become the crazy cop in the ghost story, but the dash cam doesn't lie. It happened. To this day, when I drive down that stretch of highway, I speed up. It doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't matter if it's day or night. I speed up and don't look around much, because after that night I learned something they don't. Teach in academia, there are things in this world that don't follow the rules we know. There are things that shouldn't exist, but they do. And when you encounter one of those things, the best thing you can do is leave it alone and go on your way. Because if you stare for too long, maybe it will decide to stare back. And then, my friend, you don't want to know what comes next. After the story leaked to the newspaper, my life turned into a silent hell. It wasn't the kind of hell with shouting and direct accusations. It was worse. It was the kind of hell with sideways glances, conversations that stop when you enter the room, colleagues who suddenly become too busy to have coffee with you. At the police station, I became the ghost guy, even though nobody said it to my face. Marcus and Jen never brought up the subject with me again, as if that night had never happened. My wife, Linda, tried to be understanding at first. She watched the recording too, turned pale, said it was disturbing, but that these things happen. But as the weeks went by, and I became more and more withdrawn, more distant, she began to lose patience. I couldn't sleep properly. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that toothless smile, those white eyes staring at me. I would wake up sweating in the middle of the night, checking the windows, the doors, as if she could appear there in my house. Linda dragged me to therapy after 3 months. The psychologist, Dr. Chen, was a small Asian woman with round glasses and a calm voice that was supposed to be comforting, but only irritated me. She tried to frame everything as post-traumatic stress, saying my brain had created a narrative to cope with what was probably a real person with some rare medical condition. I let her talk. I nodded. I took the medication she prescribed, but I knew the truth. It wasn't a hallucination. It wasn't trauma-distorting memories. It was recorded, archived, verified by technicians. The worst came 6 months after the incident. I was patrolling again, the night shift, but this time with a new partner, a 23-year-old kid named Tyler who had just come from the gym. He was excited, asking a million questions, trying to impress. We were driving that same stretch of Highway 89, and I felt my whole body tense up. My hands gripped the steering wheel on their own. My breath became short. Tyler noticed and asked if I was okay. I said yes, just a little tired. He kept talking about something. I don't remember what, but I wasn't listening. I was staring at the road, searching for any trace of white in the darkness, and then I saw it. Not in the middle of the road this time. On the side, stopped under an old speed limit sign, the white dress gleaming faintly in the headlights. I slammed on the brakes so hard Tyler hit his head on the dashboard. He yelled, asking what the hell I was doing, but I couldn't speak. I just pointed at the figure. Tyler looked, narrowed his eyes and said, "It's just a trash bag, man. Relax." But it wasn't. I knew it wasn't. The figure slowly turned its head toward us. Even from a distance, I could feel the white eyes meeting mine. Tyler kept saying it was trash, that I was paranoid, but then the figure took a step forward. Just one. and Tyler shut up. I reversed the car and sped away. Tyler yelled at me, said I'd gone crazy, that he was going to report my behavior. I didn't care. I drove to the police station, parked, got out of the car, and went straight to talk to Hayes. Tyler followed, complaining that I was unfit for the job. Hayes took me to his office, closed the door, and for the first time since all this started, he told me the truth he'd been holding back. He told me I wasn't the first, that in the last 40 years, 7 different officers had reported similar encounters on that highway. All were silenced, removed from duty, or transferred. One of them killed himself 3 years later, putting his service weapon in his mouth and pulling the trigger. Inside his own car, another developed severe alcoholism and was fired. Hayes said the police department's policy was not to talk about it because it had no explanation, no solution, and only created panic. I asked him why he was telling me this now. He sighed, took off his glasses, rubbed his tired eyes, and said, "Because you need to stop patrolling that area. Officially, I'm transferring you to day shifts in another region. Unofficially, you need to understand that there are things in this county that we don't control, don't investigate, and don't solve. We only survive them by staying away." I accepted the transfer. Tyler never spoke to me again after that night. Linda left me 8 months later because I had become an empty shell of who I used to be. Dr. Chen increased my medication. None of that mattered much to me. I just wanted to forget. But you don't forget something like that. Not when it actually happened. It's been 3 years now. I still work in the police force, but in an administrative area, processing paperwork, far from the streets, watching other officers go out for night shifts and come back with that tired but normal look. They don't know what's out there. Most never will. And honestly, I hope they stay that way. Because knowledge doesn't protect you from these things. It only makes you more haunted. Patricia Morgan called me again last year. She said her grandmother had appeared to 3 other people in that same stretch of road. One of them crashed. Her car trying to avoid her and was in a coma for 2 weeks. Patricia wanted to know if I thought there was anything that could be done, some ritual, some paranormal investigation. I told her I didn't know, that I didn't want to get involved with that anymore. She understood. She said she would continue searching for answers on her own. Sometimes I wonder what Dorothy Kellerman wants. Why does she keep going back to that road, scaring people, causing accidents? Doesn't she even know she's dead? Is she trapped in an endless loop of that night in 1983, repeating the journey to the accident without ever getting there? Or does she have some awareness, some intention, some message she's trying to convey that no one can understand? I don't know. And the most terrifying part is that I probably never will. This will stay with me until the day I die. This image etched in my memory and on my dashcam. This proof that the world doesn't work the way we learn in school. There are holes in reality, cracks, where old dead things still manage to crawl back in. And when you look into one of those cracks, something inside looks back at you, always looks.